Today on Blink 155, don't call it a comeback. Is 2018 the year of the ska revival? Cloudy with a chance of snow? How the reggae legend almost guessed it on a pop-punk classic. And finally, we gleaned the cube with members of the Black Flies skate team. I'm Sam Sutherland, joined as...
Oh my God, what just happened?
I'm almost done. I'm Sam Sutherland, joined as always by Josiah Hughes, and this is Blink 155.
Is that I was doing the Q theme song because, you know, of all the things that happened with that horrible man being ruined, I will say the Q theme song was really good.
I've never listened to an episode of Q in my life.
What?
Yeah, never.
But you're like, oh my God.
I know, right? Does this just sort of throw off your whole opinion of me?
No, I think actually thinking that you're too cool to listen to Q is a very good, a very good vibe. This is okay. Yeah. I just have to rearrange a few things in my file, but it works.
But it all kind of makes sense. I mean, that was not specifically a Q joke, more of a general.
No, it wasn't a Q because he would do like little nursery rhymes at the start about like.
Does Tom Powers still do that? Does he get to rhyme?
He just talks about like playing guitar. In the Maritimes.
He's like, so I'm wearing a jean jacket again, and I love folk music. Here's good Jim Cuddy.
Good thing no one in Canadian media listens to this, so it's fine.
Yeah, we are safe. I kind of always was like a little miffed when...
Always. Since we're talking about Canada, always.
Always. When I was like much more dedicated to my career as a YouTuber... I did often feel that...
That is such a depressing first half of a sentence.
So I kind of felt like I would be slighted by normal media. Like that there were people doing things that were infinitely less popular that would get more attention because they were doing them kind of in the realm that the people that write about media in this country actually cover. Does that make sense as an incredibly egotistical and sort of tragically narcissistic complaint?
I feel like I missed the actual complaint. I just got all of the context. What's the problem with that?
So the complaint was like, no one, anytime people would talk about like people doing media in Toronto, you know, no one was ever like, oh, here's a nice young man who's making videos about Black MIDI and Scientology jazz, getting millions of views on those videos. People would be like, oh, here's like a guy in a jean vest talking about Jim Cuddy. Like that was all anybody sort of wanted to focus on. And now still people will talk about exciting podcasts that are in Toronto. And there are, just to be very clear, very interesting podcasts being made by people with, you know, different perspectives than you and I. And that's valuable.
You can't walk 3 steps down Bloor Street without another
I wasn't sure where you were there. The point is, like, I've not seen. I want some acknowledgement that, you know, this podcast is.
You want to be recognized by the normie establishment.
That's what I'm saying, and it's just.
Whereas I feel like we're like there's this underground wave that we're riding, and as soon as we get written up about by fucking, I don't know, Tom Power or any of the other 15 people who live in Toronto and represent all of the country's media.
Yeah.
Then it's going to ruin what we have, maybe. Or maybe not.
I don't know. I think this is your outsider persona. You know, you're living in Calgary, sort of just a cowboy of Canadian media, blogging from afar without fear of...
I did just tell you that I did an interview with a young girl's Google Drive zine that she's working on. So I clearly want the attention too, but I'm just looking for it in more esoteric places.
Yeah, you're doing Australian podcasts, you're doing Google Drive zines, and I just want like a blog TO article that's wrapping up the 10 best Toronto podcasts to say like, and here's a fucking dumb one. That's all I want. I want like the sweeping eye to look at me.
One of the 3,000 people in Toronto who inexplicably loves the Constantines a little bit too much to just like give you just a minor dap.
That's it. I want like a gentle sort of a raspy dap, a raspy dappy.
Well, speaking of media, I was wondering, and I probably should have asked you before I did this little segue, but you know what? It's fine. Did you read
Improv,
Did you read any of the Julian Casablancas shit that everyone was mad about this week?
I only like the sort of quotes that people would pull out and screen cap and post on Twitter, because I've never really fucked with the Strokes because I was like too punk or something at the time, and I haven't like gone back.
That's also kind of why I'm bringing it up too. But first of all, I want to say I feel like I identified too much with his. Like, I read the article and was like, this is fantastic. And then I opened Twitter and everyone was so angry about it.
Because he just admits like he doesn't give a fuck, right? Which is like, that was his whole deal. Wasn't that
I feel like people are just so, and this is a very like Gen X thing maybe, or maybe whatever the Catalano generation between X and Millennial, but like actually having an opinion and hating the mainstream and like hating Ed Sheeran even is like somehow revolutionary right now and makes people uncomfortable. It's so weird. Like, just they're like, oh my God, this guy has a point of view. I'm so upset. Like, obviously, I don't agree with everything he says. Like, he said that he liked human ashtray face Bill Maher, who that guy just looks like he's melting. He looks like people put out cigarettes on his face all day and he's melting, and it's his horrible opinions gurgling out of the face pile. But other than that, I mean, Julian Casablancas is saying that I don't know. I don't even like Ariel Pink, but Julian Casablancas was like, Ariel Pink should be as big as Ed Sheeran. And that's like obviously so dumb, but I love it. I don't know. I feel like I identified with it too much, and it made me think a lot about the pod and the things I say and how maybe I'm just a dinosaur like Julian Casablancas.
Well, that's a difficult moment for you to find yourself in. Did you relate
to the emo night thing again? Because it's like, people just earnestly love everything, and if you say that something's not good, then people are like, "Oh my God,
why would you say that?" I mean, it's interesting because he gave Bill Maher his due, and Jack White also in the last week came out and said that he loves the works of Jordan Peterson. So overall, it's been, I think, a difficult week for people whose musical tastes haven't evolved in the last 15 years.
Right, which is basically everyone, because it sometimes feels like nothing has really happened in the last 15 years.
Well, and that's why the only thing we could think to start a podcast about was Blink-182.
Yeah, but before you do whatever god-awful transition you're about to do, I will say the Julian Casablancas thing is really weird, too, because we don't actually talk a lot about dates with Blink-182, but it's really fucked up to imagine, like, even just thinking about like when Blink-182 came out, what video game system was popular at the time, it seems crazy. Like, in my mind, maybe it's just me, but I feel like Blink-182 exists outside of time. Like, it just the sound of Enema of the State does not. If you look at like what people were wearing and watching on TV, or even what other music was happening in like 1999, it does not fit Blink-182, and I don't know if they're ahead of their time or just way behind it or what.
Well, I was thinking about this last week, around the time that our episode came out. My great band, Junior Battles, played a show at a club in Toronto that has some rough and tumble regulars called the Bovine Sex Club. Bit of a cool guy, I don't know, metal, punk, hardcore bar.
It's at the corner of Bloor Street and the CN Tower.
Yeah. And we were playing with a couple. It was sort of a bit of a mixed bag of a bill. And the band playing after us was like this punk band from Guelph that were all like, probably 10 years older than us. Apparently they were on Sudden Death Records at like now, at which like I didn't know Sudden Death was still.
Ooh.
Yeah. But that was kind of the vibe,
Yikes.
right? And so we played a few covers that night because we had a couple of pops, and we haven't played a lot recently. So naturally, Machine Head by Bush came out, and then Sunday Morning by No Doubt as like a necessary sort of balance to that. So that was like our vibe that night against this like Sudden Death kind of like punk hardcore band. And we finished with one of our own songs, and again we haven't played in a minute, so. It went pretty well. Like we were sort of quote unquote kind of headlining. There was a late last call. That's why there was another band. So it was good. Like people were into it. I
mean, okay. I want to pause you right there because I feel like the concept of headlining has really evolved over the last few years, and like people, people will say that the best slot is like in the middle, or what you just said sounded like multiple asterisks to try to convince yourself that you were headlining.
Yes, so exactly.
I don't know. And also, is headlining even good? Like, isn't it too much pressure?
Yeah.
There's so many questions. I feel like the concept of headlining is just it's like there's a lot to work out with your therapist or something.
What I was trying to do was both paint a picture where you would believe me that people were really into the song, but it wouldn't sound like I was bragging about it or something. The point is, we played our last song. It went off. Kids were singing along. It was a ton of fun. And friend of the pod, Nicole, was standing next to the guitar player for the band that was going to go on after us. And he had sort of been texting someone throughout the show. And in that moment, he texted whoever he was talking to and was like, oh, fuck. Like, this band is covering Blink-182 and everyone knows all the words and we have to go on after this. It's going to be fucking awful. And first of all, I thought, like, first, Junior Battles doesn't actually sound anything like Blink. We're a pop punk band, but we sound nothing like Blink. And it sort of sent me down this hole of like, how many bands really sounded like Blink? Because they do exist outside of that space. Like Phoenix TX ripped off Blink. They sound like Blink. But the Ataris don't sound like Blink. And even, Fall Out Boy or All Time Low or bands that sort of came in that immediate wake, none of them actually sound like Blink. So I kind of agree with you. The party song.
Do you want to come to a party? My friends pick me up in their truck at 11:30. 6 at a frat house. The people are cool there. Reluctant I followed, but I never dreamed there would be someone there who would catch my attention. I wasn't out searching for love or affection, so I paid my 3 and the girls got a free shine the beer for tequila, and we headed into the party.
First of all, I want to say God bless Nicole for reading people's text messages, and anyone who doesn't do that, like, you got to get into that game. I love it. I'll read entire books on planes. I mean, that's how, if you want me to read a book, you just get the lady beside me on a plane to buy it on her Kindle and I'll read it. I'll read all kinds of shit. Like, people are reading very erotic things in public, I've noticed. It's wild.
Yeah, okay.
But the other thing I was going to say, related to what we were just talking about before you so rudely interrupted me with the name of this misogynistic song we were talking about. Mm-hmm. Speaking of books, my wife read the Meet Me in the Bathroom, the book about the Strokes and all those early 2000s people, pretty much as I could have predicted going. I mean, basically, instead of reading it, I get her to explain it to me, and it's way more fun. But I would have, as I would have expected, it sounds like everyone's a giant asshole coke addict. But something that's really funny is, I guess when the Strokes were being like pursued by labels, because their first EP was on Rough Trade, and then all the major labels were like schmoozing them, which I imagine, do you still do? Like, do you do that? Do you take young bands out for like steaks?
Mm-hmm. I lie to them. I tell them they're going to be huge. We go to Peter Luger. It's awesome.
You go to Shoeless Joe's.
No, we go to the restaurant at the top of the CN Tower.
Right, Shoeless Joe's, yeah. But in the book, I guess Julian, one of the guys from the Strokes, said that someone from MCA Records was like trying really hard to sign them, but they didn't really have anyone on the label at the time, and so they kept saying like, "We have Blink-182," and the Strokes were like, "We don't give a fuck." And it's like hard to even imagine what the Strokes are like existing at the same time as Blink-182. I don't know. It's just really weird.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. And then the point that I wanted to make after the intro, now that we're like 15 minutes removed from the way I tried to cold open this episode and then got sidetracked in like my own just like vile ego.
Yeah, like it really has been like, you think that people owe you like think pieces on the National Post like Sunday edition or whatever.
Yeah.
And you headline every show no matter what part of the bill you're on.
Yeah.
I get it.
And, something that I think, really is deserving of, people's attention and like, worthy praise and credit now is the fact that this podcast is breaking real news now. You said when you did your guest interview with Ben Cook that you thought there were some kind of tasty morsels in there. And who could have predicted that Blink-155 would appear in the sub-headline of a Vice.com story? I guess a noisy story, but it all sits on the same domain. Truly a miraculous day. And so I thought I was going to, professionalize the pod. There might be kind of new people coming in and really treat it like one of those kind of news podcasts that you would hear, where we kind of tee everything up.
Oh, that's why you were doing that.
That was the joke.
I got it. And
then we turned it into this weird, just like misanthropic tragedy, which like, sure.
That's pretty normal for us, I think. To see that sort of thing.
Not a lot of straight lines.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think I would love to get people from Sum 41 on the pod at some point. And also, in the last week, we appear to have gotten Mike Herrera from MXPX's attention.
Yeah, that's right.
Via the MXPX memes account. So really, I think we're really finally making some moves in the pop punk world. And as long as none of them ever listen to the podcast, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, but I returned home, one night checking the ads, and who's this verified user that's all up in my shit? It's Mike Herrera. And I was like, Josiah must be just like melting from excitement. Because for those of you who haven't listened to the exclusive that you did with your brother, you have a long and convoluted history with Christian pop punk, and so I would encourage people to give us their money and go listen to that, because it's still one of the best things I think we've ever done.
Well, along those lines, there's actually quite a few of party-themed Christian punk songs that I have always associated. So pretty much a very formative album for me was MXPX's Slowly Going the Way of the Buffalo, which was like their... Life in General was like the huge explosive hit, and then Slowly Going the Way of the Buffalo was their major label debut.
Which is the one with I'm okay. You're okay.
That's this one. This one,
so
yeah.
good.
The whole album is actually incredible, and I'm pretty sure people from Bad Religion are on a couple songs too, which is a little interesting. Good religion, bad religion.
Regular Hard Times headline over here, right?
Oh, no. So they have this song that I think, like, probably I associated more than the party song. It's called "Party My House, Be There," and I used to play it all the time when I was learning guitar. I used to like jam it out with my dad and my brother in the basement. My dad would play bass. So I'll play you the start of this song because, you know what, we should start off on a wholesome note before things get really bad.
It's about time for a party at my house, and it wouldn't be the same without you. No, not at all. As I recall, you've got what I need. Bring along yourself and don't forget that smile. Plan on staying a while till summer turns.
Hell yeah. So in a Christian pop punk song about partying, you're told to bring along your smile. I really like that.
And so the party song lacks the moral center of MXPX's own party song. This one is...
hang on. Sorry.
Oh, you have more? Okay, sorry. How many Christian party songs are we going to have to listen to?
Just only one more.
Okay.
There's a Christian post-hardcore band called Emery that used to be signed to Tooth and Nail Records, and now they host the Bad Christian podcast, where people like Mike Herrera of MXPX go to sort of renounce their faith or discuss how it has changed to the point where they're basically renouncing it. So it's kind of like this modern, postmodern, like post-Christian podcast. But this band Emery has a song literally called The Party Song that I had never heard till today. So I thought, you know what? While we're having this little carved out Christian hopefully all these new listeners know that this is ultimately a Christian punk podcast.
I think that's why Mike Herrera was tweeting at you. Like he senses it in his bones.
Probably my extremely biblical name. Okay, here we go.
Like the party, but the party never stops. I know you like the party, but the party never stops. Oh, I know you, I know you, I know you. I know you wanna be here, so you just let go, and no one's ever gonna tell you no.
It's horrible.
Wow.
Why did I play that?
Yeah, I remember reviewing an Emery album for Exclaim way back in the day, and they were just much more of a straight up like metalcore band. Where you can't like tell that they're Christian if they weren't on a Christian label because you can't really hear the words or whatever, or you ignore them.
Yeah, I think that this sort of like old guy emo music is the fault of Jimmy Eat World. Because like honestly, Jimmy Eat World is bad, and I just need to say that. I just need to start admitting it out loud. Okay. Jimmy Eat World sucks.
Are you like really embracing like? Because I feel like Christianity has been closer than ever to the pod lately. You found a couple of really compelling Christian, I guess, webzine reviews of Enema of the State and Dude Ranch that you published on the Blink-155 socials. You've opened this podcast by playing, and opened, we're 20 minutes in, opened this podcast with 2 Christian party songs. Like, are you sort of like being pulled back? Well, I actually don't know sort of where you stand in your faith, but like, I feel like the pull of the church is extra strong right now.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm starting my own pop punk church.
Oh, there's got to be like the pop punk pastor. Like, that's a thing, right?
Like, what's something to you that's like always funny? Like, I just think if you grew up listening to Christian punk, it was like a huge thing when you were a kid, and also it will always be funny forever for the rest of your life.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Like, it's just like it's so good.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it.
So, Blink-182's party song, though, despite some of the sort of more Christian messages in some other songs, is of these 3 party songs that we are now discussing on the pod.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to these ones a lot.
Yeah, it is the least Christian, I would say, right? Unless
actually,
oh my God, is it Christian? Holy fuck!
Okay, there's this weird thing of like, I mean, obviously, people don't realize that there's like hundreds of different denominations of Christianity and different like beliefs. Even within the same denomination, people will believe different things. So some people are more lax about premarital sex than others. But regardless, you've definitely heard the phrase in churches before, why would you buy the cow if you can get the milk for free?
Mm-hmm. They say that in church. That's not just like a meme thing
I've
from
heard
sitcoms, reverend.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it depends where you are, but I mean, especially the website where I shared those reviews from, like they would have things like that, like little like limericks to remind you that you shouldn't sleep around, I guess. I don't know. But my point is that there's this theory. Maybe some people would be like, well, you could go, and it's also, what was that website called that used to do clickbait all the time? Elite Daily or something? Do you remember that website?
Yeah, it's like,
is that what it's called?
I mean,
it's fucking like awful douchebag bro site. And I remember like some dudes on Facebook, these articles would resonate with them and they'd share them and everyone would get so mad. But it would be like, I just want to fuck like 700 women and then marry a virgin. You know, and it's like, I feel like that is kind of the message of this song. Well, it's like,
yeah,
women are property and you don't want to buy a used model.
Well, it's also, I mean, you know, like the song sort of condemnation of vanity in various forms, in worshiping false idols in the sense of those who might skate for black flies. You know,
it's true.
This song is so Christian.
It's like all of the worst facets of American Christianity in one novelty pop punk song. But I think I do think we're ahead of ourselves. I'm sorry for
I'm
sorry for bringing up Christian pop punk and sending us on this wild ride. But first of all, I would like to say I loved this song.
Oh, same.
I loved it.
Same.
And when I listened to Enema, as we've talked about, I thought everything was too slick. I was bummed out by it at first. And then this song came on, and I was like, finally, just like a fast pop punk song.
It's a punk song,
it.
Yeah.
So, like, aesthetically, it's really good, and it's really fun. And Tom DeLonge has talked before about how he wants, I don't know what he said, like, nursery rhymes on crack or something, like, whatever. But this is, to me, like a good example of, like, a very nursery rhyme kind of melody. It's just, like, like, it's just, like, as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh, I'm going to know this song forever.
Yeah, totally.
But I also wonder if back then, I mean, I'm sure this album had a lyric. The lyrics were in the booklet, right? Were they?
You know what's weird is like, you know what? I should go grab the CD. But like, listening to it today was kind of the first time that I fully absorbed it, because I think I loved this song, but it was never like it was never a song. It's deep on the record. we've already sort of established that I didn't love Enema when I first heard it, so I didn't spend as much time with it. And so, there were bits that I knew, like the ska thing and the Black Flies thing, but there's parts of these lyrics that are delivered so quickly, like the down from anywhere state sort of critique of, I guess, Greek culture, as they would call it. Like I didn't catch that until today. Honestly,
there's quite a few little lyrical flourishes that I'd like to get into, other than the dismantling of the toxic masculinity that I assume is coming. But it's like it's weird because you don't really know the lyrics, except also something about the novelty of the song made everyone want to learn the lyrics. I think even just from looking at YouTube, or even looking at Reddit comments, a lot of people talk about it's almost like a challenge. It's like that Black Alicious alphabet song that everyone used to always play. It's like a challenge to try to even fit all these syllables in there. So because of that, and because of the nursery rhyme thing too, there's like a lot of like little kids trying to learn it and shit. And it's like, it's just kind of a disaster in all senses.
It's true though. I can see it sort of fitting into that same, someone who would learn all of the lyrics to a rap song when you were in high school and you were like, oh, that's amazing, you can rap. It has sort of the same novelty to it for sure.
But I think the intent of the song was for it to be a joke novelty song, and we can see that with even the fact that it opens with Mark whispering, "Here you go, motherfuckers," which is pretty awesome.
It is great. Again, listening to the song divorced from the sort of convoluted messages of the lyrics, it still has such a great vibe because it's the sort of like tight verse and then the dunk 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 like different instrumentation
so
before it goes big is so fun. Like it's such a fun punk
and
song.
And that also I feel like would be really hard to do because this is ridiculously fast.
It's a fast fucking song.
They're very in the pocket. But so him whispering, "Here you go, motherfuckers," at the start. Which I kind of forgot about too. I don't know. Like I don't listen to every channel of every recording up close. Yeah. But I knew there was some sort of sound at the start. I probably thought it was like my car or something. But someone said on Reddit that they had like the Walmart censored version of this album where like the swears are all replaced with I don't know, a backwards sound or whatever. Yeah. But that whisper made it in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's sick.
I think that's awesome as like a subversive little shithead thing.
Yeah, totally. But the rest of the song is not so subversive. Or maybe it is. This song just like, I don't know. Do we want to sort of go through the sort of fucked upness of these lyrics first? Do we want to talk more?
I feel like, I guess we have to. I mean, the tidbits all just feel like they're being eclipsed by the
larger sort of vibes. First, well, you know what? Let's say something really nice right now. The da-na-nas in this song, as Blink na-na-nas go, are fucking excellent. Like, I love it when they happen. I love listening to it.
You kind of forget that they even exist. And also, the urban legend is that that's actually Tom DeLonge singing Vagina over and over again.
That's a stretch. Hey.
Everyone seems to think that. Everyone seems to think that, and I think it was brought up in one of those Twitter Q&A. I don't know. Who gives a fuck? Blink-182, whatever. We've talked about them enough.
You good? You just want to call it? We made it 36 episodes.
I think it's time.
Yeah, you know what?
No, I don't know. I didn't really have time to go rock bottom to the bottom of the internet to figure out if he's saying vagina or not. But I don't think he is. I just feel comfortable that he's not.
Do you think? And I'm because I obviously went to Genius to go through the lyrics that the terrible ska band is actually the Aquabats that's being referenced. That seems like a tremendous stretch with no reference.
That's what somebody said. In the backyard, some terrible ska band. First of all, I feel like the Aquabats came out immediately so fully formed and famous that they probably would have never played in a backyard.
And they, were never terrible.
And yeah, you kind of said that off the top. And ska, it is ska is back.
Yeah,
there's no denying it. Ska is here. We are. I think no music has come out yet, but I almost think that fits the times that there's no substance to this revival, but the ska aesthetic is here.
Okay, but that's my question because I've seen the memes. We've had some jokes about it, in various chats. What is the root of this ska revival in 2018 nonsense? Is it just that someone started making memes saying that ska was coming back and we just agreed? Like, that's all it takes now?
No, I think what it honestly is that, fast fashion, as they critically call it, but places, like places in the mall where you get shit, or it probably came from streetwear first, but they always like different patterns, and everyone follows different patterns. Like, everyone was into, like, the chevron pattern that's, like, the Twin Peaks floor for a while. Or there's, like, you just see patterns everywhere. And I think in the last few years, everyone's like, oh, shit, black and white checker. That was there all along. We need black and white checker all the time. Pair that with the fact that everyone's wearing, like, baggy khakis again and slip-on Vans. And, like, I don't know if you've listened to much grime, but I want you to look at the artwork for this Skepta single that came out late 2017, because it's called Hypocrisy, and it looks like a fucking No Doubt B-side.
Holy shit. Ska's back, man, 2018.
It's everywhere. The aesthetic, I don't know if anyone's really going to, like, make some ska music. But I will say I listen every once in a while to Ezra Koenig's Time Crisis or not a podcast, a radio show on Beats One.
Yeah.
I just like listen to people talk now. It's crazy. I'm full on podman.
Your brain has just been sort of fundamentally altered by doing this podcast.
But he was even talking about how secretly Vampire Weekend was always like he wanted to be Sublime. Like, I think the ska influence has been just bubbling underneath for so long.
But I like the idea of pretending that you are into Afrobeat.
Exactly.
We're like a post Afrobeat band that actually you just want to sound like 40 Ounces of Freedom.
Well, that's like basically what he said, and like just because they were dressed preppy, no one the visuals need to match the music for people's idiot brains to register what you're putting across. So the fact that they weren't dressed ska, probably people are like, oh, it must be something more like academic.
I hope that this like ska aesthetic kind of becomes just the go-to, punk aesthetic for a couple years, the way that like hardcore and like sort of metal lettering and layouts have become quite trendy for people that don't sort of sound that way. Like maybe
right. Well, actually, it's sort of actually true already because Turnstile has a very ska aesthetic as well. If you think about it, like people always compare them to like Red Hot Chili Peppers or 311, but I think a lot of what their shit looks like that they put out looks very ska.
Fuck. Okay, so
it's here, but where are we going with this? I do think it's like any genre. Well, I know what I was going to say. I would like people to start making ska because I'm just going to say it right now out loud on the pod. I don't want to hear another new post-punk band. I'm fully done with it. We've talked about Angular before. Every day I get like 5 press releases for some new post-punk band, and I can't do it anymore.
So you are like, as a critic, you are ready for ska revival.
Yeah, like if someone's going to send me something that sounds like Real Big Fish with like some sort of postmodern ironic detachment, I will literally dedicate my life to writing about that. But if I have to hear another thing that's like, it sounds like Marky Smith jamming with Section 25 or what, I don't know, just like fucking like, there's like 10 bands that every band sounds like now, and I'm done with it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm into it, man. I mean, I'm Junior Battles, who headline all the time. We're playing Pouzza Fest in Montreal in May, and Real Big Fish is one of the headliners. So, maybe
So Bill Billingsley is going to fly out there.
yeah, that's right.
he's
Bill
a big
Billingsley
RBF
loves
head.
RBF. So this is finally we're giving Bill Billingsley's other tastes some due on this pod and saying it's time for us to show some respect and to Real Big Fish.
But all this is to say, I think this is sort of like when Tom DeLonge was hating on techno, and then we're like, what are you talking about? Techno's awesome. Like, I think because now that ska is officially back, as we just declared right now,
yes,
at the time it was very like in vogue to make fun of ska. But it's like when someone makes fun of Nickelback now, and you're like, come on, man. First of all, Nickelback fucking rules, and second of all, everyone's made those jokes.
They are boring jokes. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm here for it, man. Thank you for explaining the ska revival to me.
Hey, you're welcome.
Now,
let's rewind a little bit.
Okay.
So Mark has said
this podcast is like turning in Memento. Like I feel like we are just like
I don't have a brain anymore at all.
Yeah.
It used to be like a joke, and now it's like I'm literally just like I don't even know.
I'm just the Joe Pantalone, kind of like along for the ride in this whole thing. Just
my brain looks like
Josiah.
my brain looks like an old '90s like MTV or Nickelodeon promo, like a claymation like purple brain with that's just like like sparking every once in a while. And there's like a slug with sunglasses.
Yeah.
That's how it feels, at least.
Yeah.
According to Wikipedia, the party song was inspired by when Hoppus attended a jock-infested party at San Diego State University and met some students who thought highly of themselves. Disinterested in the party, he felt he would much rather be at home, which found its way into the song's lyrics.
Wow. That's A plus Wikipedia reading. You know, I was earlier. You know, there's all this stuff happening right now on YouTube where they've claimed that they're going to, you know, really sort of make a stand and crack down on conspiracy videos. This is sort of damaging the platform. It's obviously damaging the discourse. It's, you know, damaging the minds of all the like idiot adults who watch and take these videos.
I actually found like a 35-minute one about how Tom DeLonge is trans and like secretly trying to like rot people's brains with like, I don't know, trans propaganda or something.
Wow.
And everyone was like, I think this is a joke, but you couldn't really tell, but also whether it was a joke or not, it was just like horribly offensive. So
sorry, and you watched all 35 minutes of it?
No, I didn't. I was like, oh, this is too offensive to bring up on the pod, so I'll turn it off. And then I brought it up on the pod.
And then here we
are.
Anyways. And so the way that YouTube is going to monitor videos like that is, you know, they were initially very vague, right, with their promises of how exactly they were going to police quote unquote conspiracy theory videos. And they've since come out and said they're going to use Wikipedia, which has many, many problems. But like one of the bigger ones is that they're basically using this resource that's been created by volunteers that is, you know, funded by donations totally for free. So like Google, one of the richest companies in the world, is just going to extract information from a resource that like people have been kind of pouring hours and hours and, you know, tons and tons of research and hard work into to create this sort of free repository of information. And then Google's just to come and be like, thanks, this is how we're going to continue to make money. And so this was very offensive to me earlier today. And then I hear you sort of, it's conceptually offensive. And then when you actually read something like that from Wikipedia, I think, fuck it, who gives a shit?
You know, our little Sum 41 In Too Deep tidbit is already the lead sentence on the wiki for that song.
Is it?
Yeah.
We are real journalism, man.
Despite being completely unverified and not proven in a court of law.
No, that should not. That's every Wikipedia reference has to be from a court document. You know, like I spent years, literal years of my life writing a book that's hundreds of pages long about the first wave of Canadian punk, and like 10 people read it, and you know, and then it was done. And we talked for 90 minutes.
And you're still waiting for your big profile.
When I just want a blog TO, you know, mention. Not even Toronto Life. Like I don't want a glossy magazine.
I
just
also
a blog.
love that. Once again, if you live in Toronto, your concept of national coverage is to be on Blog TO or Toronto Life.
Yeah.
It's only Toronto things. Hey, once you pass Bloor Street, I'm out of here. That's not.
What's the big like Calgary blog? Is it like the cow pile?
Don't start that with me. They're all horrendous and awful.
Yeah. So,
but maybe but then again, maybe they'll do a feature on me.
Yeah, that's true. So this is now a battle to see who can be recognized by local media first.
Oh God, this is a depressing one so far. What I was trying to say was, you know, we've sort of established that at least sometimes these are based on real things that happened, and it's based on him going to a real frat party. But like, other than that, I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna skip. There's so many fucking lyrics in this song.
It's
the only thing I really wanted to bring up, and I can't. This was like on song meetings or something that someone said this, but you were mentioning black flies, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the line right after that, she dated this guy who now rides for black flies. How she's down with the wise. Now, did you catch that? I think, and some people have wisely pointed out that he's referring to her saying she's down with Pennywise.
Oh, shit. That's
Yeah.
interesting because this is one of like it's funny. We've obviously sort of given, I think, Mark his due lyrically, and equally sort of roasted him for like the apple juicy moments in his over. But there is like a lot of interesting. I wish I understood poetry. You're the one who knows the word stanza, but the way that sort of thoughts get broken up. Like the way that sort of thoughts get sort of broken up and seem like they're going in one way, and then they sort of take off in another direction. But so that has the wise seems like she's talking about the wise, well constructed disguise is the sort of full lyric there. So he's just sort of
Right.
But it also sounds like she's saying she's down with the wise, because even the thing about the underwear when it first comes up, right, has that like, she wasn't wearing underwear. At least I prayed that she might be the one. Like there's this thing where it sounds like he's praying that she's not wearing underwear, but actually he's hoping that she could be his wife.
Right. It's like the that like doe, a deer, a female deer, that thing where like it jumps to each new thought is introduced with the last word, and there's like this bait and switch.
Yeah, totally.
There was like a limerick like that I knew when I was a kid, where it sounds like you're almost gonna say a curse word, but then it says like "ask me no more questions" or something. Like she fell down on her, "ask me no more questions." I can't remember it now because now I just say cuss words. But I think this song itself is very like, it feels like a limerick. It feels like a dirty limerick.
Yeah, it's very limerick inspired. There once was a man from Nantucket is like the sort of proto party song. It's the source document.
But I think I really do think that he must be talking about being down with the wise, which first of all is like this terrible trope of, and I've seen people tweet this before, like a woman will be like, I'm going to wear my Joy Division t-shirt out today, so I need to spend like 25 minutes on their Wikipedia brushing up on facts because I'm going to be grilled all day about whether or not I actually like them. And like, that's totally true. Like we do that, like men have always done that to women, whereas like I love like buying hardcore merch after seeing a hardcore band once, and I can't even tell you anything about them at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know never shit think about anything.
Totally, yeah. When that first sort of entered the discourse, I remember thinking like, and I mean, this is a moment that I think people like you and I are having kind of constantly, where you read something or someone says something to you and you're like, wait, that's how that experience sort of was for you. Because I would never think fucking twice about wearing a shirt for a band that I know nothing about, because they're just like, you saw them once live and they were good. Or in particular, when I was younger, it was like very much just about like identity signaling, right? Where you just like wear the shirt of like an old punk band because you're like, I know hypothetically I like this band. You know, but I definitely like remember.
Well, I also, as things like say Black Flag shirts have proliferated and everyone's wearing them for like really corny Instagram posts or whatever, I still kind of prefer that over the 55-year-old who's like, what side of my war is actually your favorite, or you know what I mean? Like, I'd way rather the people who are having fun wear it and we can just admit that it's over now culturally and that's fine, than someone trying to protect it. It's like really lame.
No, I mean, I actually, when I think back on, I feel like you're constantly, especially sort of in the contemporary moment that we're kind of living in, like going back and relitigating your own behavior. And I'm fortunate enough that I think mostly from my own perspective, when I think about sort of how I've just like acted throughout my just personal life, my professional life, like mostly I don't have a ton of regrets, but there's like a few things that stick out in my fucking head. And I like remember being in like a community band in high school, like early high school. And there was a woman wearing a Black Flag shirt, and I was like full on grilling her about Black Flag. Like I don't even fucking like Black Flag that much. Like, you know what I mean? It's just this thing, and it's fucking hideous. Like it's a, and I think about that and it makes my fucking skin crawl. I can't believe I'm saying it out loud. Like, I know that it's a behavior that I've engaged in and that like people in particular, like women have been subjected to in a way that like you and I never have. It's so fucked up. To
call that a well-constructed disguise is like totally that thing of like, And the other really funny thing is, like, we've both been in our relationships for a really long time, and I think you would feel the same way as me, but I actually think it would be really boring if we liked all the same stuff.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I enjoy that I love things that my wife thinks are terrible and roasts me for it all the time.
Yeah,
and she loves things that I also roast her for and don't get laughs anymore because my jokes are bad.
Yeah, I mean,
but,
like my wife doesn't even like Blink-182. At least like Sarah supports us on Patreon. So
yeah, exactly. But I just think imagine your relationship was built on these arbitrary things, like just. I mean, sure, you can bond over like a collective hobby, but imagine your whole relationship was just like we love.
The Wise,
guided by voices,
right?
Or something. Yeah, or the it's just like it's so superficial. Especially as you get older, you're like, what people like and don't like really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Other than like it's fun to discuss art, but you don't need to like the same things to discuss it.
Yeah.
So who gives a shit?
It's indicative of like I think sort of someone's interest in a broad way, in the sense that like if someone only likes.
Please don't call women broads.
Yeah, okay. Let's just move on from that. Did you know, because I never understood what shined meant until I was on Genius today. And this was a lyric that I knew from the song, because it's like said a little slower than some of the like really fast, like snow style delivery that comes later. But when he says they shined the beer for tequila, and I never looked it up because this song came out sort of before Urban Dictionary existed. And this moment was the first time that I realized that shining is, in this context, saying, no thanks, don't want the beer,
yeah.
We'll take the tequila. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but I would like to start using it as like a straight edge word. Like I'll shine the beer and the tequila.
Right.
And then
for
I'm
the
just like
seltzer
shining.
water.
I'm just shining, baby.
You've got the shining, Josiah.
And you know what? First of all, I did not know that. And I think it's very clever that he did that. But also, I think this is like, in the first verse, you're like, okay, this song is actually lyrically really good. And it has this fun, limericky, snappy thing. And even saying, I paid my 3 in, that I guess some people think it's a weed thing or it's just the cover for the party. I don't know. But even just the way that he says, I pay my 3 in, it's like he's just dropping like weird references. So that makes you think like, okay, this is really coming from a real place.
Maybe that's actually what makes it fake, is it's too specific, right?
I mean, hopefully. Or what I was going to say is maybe this song is very much coming from a real place, because I do sometimes feel like we give Tom a lot of trouble for his misogyny, but sometimes like the Christmas song where it was like women owe me sex because I rapped like sometimes I feel like Mark's misogyny is much more like jagged.
Well, I mean, Tom's misogyny is like, I need a girl that I can train. It's sort of so over the top. And, as I think it was like on the episode with Hanif Abdurraqib, he sort of references the idea of Tom as an unreliable narrator, which like isn't necessarily like an unassailable concept, but it's an interesting way of looking at the sort of extremes of his lyrical approach. And Mark's is much more just like the misogyny of like everyday dudes. And in that sense, it's harder to shake. Yeah,
it's very earnest, and I feel like this is a good time to point out that mere hours, or I guess a day before we started this episode, Mark tweeted, "You guys, I just passed the Bechdel test." So he really is engaging with modern progressive words and ideas and concepts, at least from a distance. But I don't know.
You know what my favorite Bechdel test fact is that I share literally every time someone brings up the Bechdel test, which is that Baby Got Back passes the Bechdel test.
Right. Yeah. I've heard that, but I don't know. I feel like I saw someone dismantle that theory. I don't know. I mean, at this point, I hate that song, so I don't know what to say.
Right, I know.
I can't handle that song anymore.
I'm sorry I brought it up. Let's move on.
I think you were deflecting, because what I was about to say is like, I wonder what does Mark need to do to like reconcile his modern image that he wants to put forward, or Matt Skiba wearing "This is what a feminist looks like," with these like extremely dangerous messages.
Well, so I'm not sure that he has to, because it's not like the Beastie Boys and Girls. I think, first of all, the Beastie Boys, and this comes up a little bit with our guest this week, Sarah Boesveld, so I don't want to sort of step on our conversation too much because I think it's a really interesting and to me actually quite an important one. But, the Beastie Boys had to make a very clean break with like a really sort of like extremely cartoonish level of misogyny. I know we said that that's sort of what Tom does, but like Girls as a hit is like this super like problematic and fucked up song that is not just I need a girl that I can train, right? And also the Beastie Boys became like so incredibly progressive.
And also, yeah, like Tom being cartoony doesn't make it any less dangerous, because how many times have we learned this, that young people don't think about irony or layers or think of like the mess. It doesn't matter what the intent of the message was. If you're saying something ironically or tongue-in-cheekly, it's not going to translate. They don't have like, they don't sit down and do like a dissertation with it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if this song was a hit, I feel like there would have to be a moment of, we're not going to play that song anymore. Like that. I wrote that song when I was 25, or however fucking old. Maybe it was like 35. Who knows? But there would have to be, I think, a level of distance from it. But this song was never a consistent live, staple. It's not like maybe you're going to tell me it's a surprise fan favorite, which is like every single song.
Oh, well, of course it is. And also they have played it live like in this decade.
Yeah.
With Tom. So, I mean, I guess it's just weird because it's like, I don't know. I kind of think the Beastie Boys are maybe the only example of someone that I think actually could be applauded for what they did by like completely rejecting their past and becoming so crazily progressive beyond just saying that you passed the Bechdel test on Twitter for like some cheap fave star.
Yeah,
vibes.
not even that many faves on that tweet. I mean, I think I do think it's worth us kind of getting more into the kind of specifics of what's
like we've just been sort of circling the drain. We haven't really talked about the actual shit yet.
Well, let's do it.
Let's do it.
There's a bit kind of off the top where it seems like, and this is where what's so interesting about the song is I don't think that they would have thought that this was like a sexist song. Like whereas like Girls was kind of deliberately like, well, we're going to make sexist jokes. Like, that's the point of that song. This song is seemingly critical of a sort of like bro mentality. So we mentioned the Anywhere State thing, kind of like making fun of like frat types. This idea of like these kinds of guys that are not Blink-182, that are not Mark, trying to get girls drunk so that they can give them head after the party. Like, that's being written about from an outsider perspective that says, like, basically, like, fuck these guys, they're being shitty to these women. That's not, I am alienated by this behavior. And that comes right before this fucking, like, I guess it's a pre-chorus technically, where we get into this like extremely male gazy description of a woman at this party, and then just like the weird deconstruction of her entire identity and appearance.
Yeah, and I mean, even prior to that, I guess it's all. Yeah, I don't know. He like even when he says all these girls look the same, all these guys have no game. Even then, I question it because first of all, he's dehumanizing the women and saying they're all identical basically because of what they look like, which is like him objectifying them basically. But then also he's saying, he's complaining that the guys have no game. So it's like, you guys don't even know how to pick up these like objects as good as me. Like it's already like fucking weird. And then, yeah, I don't know. You're right though. Like it's the pre-chorus where you're just like, what the fuck?
So we get into this like, this beautiful woman, she's maybe not wearing underwear. He's thinking like she could be the one, or maybe they'd at least have a one-night stand. And then like the sort of switch in the chorus is that like, this is the night that Mark discovers that some girls try too hard, whatever that is supposed to mean. And this is where the song just gets so messy because...
I feel like when I heard that when I was younger, I thought, yeah, that's true. I mean, everyone, like everyone tries too hard. Like people are tryhards, I guess. You know,
tryhards was a thing. I gotta bring tryhards back as a fucking tryhards.
I think being a tryhard is good now. I think that's how you get ahead. That's just working on your brand. Just means you have clout.
Yeah, tryhards are absolutely getting like free Cadillac,
but I think
driving experiences on clout.
It really is this like mentality of like wanting to sow your wild seeds, but also wanting to have like a untouched virgin, because he's even when he first sees her, he loves what she looks like and he hopes that she's not wearing underwear, but then he gets mad that she's just trying to trick him into loving him. Like it's just like he likes those things about her, but they also make him mad because of, I don't know. Yeah. Those things on her chest and the things they suggest to me, but what they are suggesting is what you seemingly already kind of wanted.
Yeah, you just don't want it to be. It's this like very particular kind of notion of like how I think like men expect women to be, which is like effortlessly cool and beautiful and sexual, but like secretly sexual and only sexual for you. And not sort of sexual for the world or for anyone else. Like,
right.
There's some like famous kind of like parable sort of quote about this. Like you used the "why buy the cow" one, but the thing about like men want to like, go to bed with virgins, but like there's something about whores.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The sound of me typing in the background, which was made fun of on the podcast, was me trying to Google what that phrase is, which I should have prepared. But it's
you want you want a rainer in the streets and a barker in the sheets.
I think that's it. That's the exact. Let's make that the phrase. Let's get that on Urban Dictionary or
make
whatever.
some shirts.
Yeah, that's gonna be the next shirt. Buy our shirts. Blink155podcast.bigcartel.com. And so it's so indicative of this like stereotype of a mentality that it's almost strange that it's not a parody of it, because otherwise I think like, Blink has done sort of a good job of like dissecting certain perspectives in the past, like, and this is not one of those songs. It literally just embodies a cliche of privileged kind of male perspective that like women just sort of exist for your pleasure, but like literally only your pleasure.
I think also in this time, like we've now also like gone through so many think pieces and re-understandings and like facing ourselves. And I'm not like being critical of it, but there has been like a lot of fucking shit constantly. Like if you just read media Twitter, it's just a never ending like analysis of pop culture in a very exhausting and exhaustive way. But I think at this point, like if you say that Kim Kardashian is a dumb bimbo, you're like you sound like a caveman. But in like the 90s, to say that jocks and like quote unquote bimbos were worthless and that people who had more substance and who were like into things, that was sort of like an honorable thing to say back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Also, I believe the sort of psychological trick that I'm talking about is apparently called the virgin whore dichotomy.
Yes.
So that's like a popular sort of like feminist critique inside of popular media. And so that's like literally.
And also it's definitely the name of like a gore grind band from Quebec who doesn't really understand what it means.
No, but like read it once in an English language paper and was like, oui.
Yeah, but I think that like back then this was sort of the status quo progressive take was like bimbos and jocks are bad. And people are like, damn, he's progressive. But now it's like people are sort of, even what I was saying about Julian Casablancas, to say that anyone is bad is to be too dismissive maybe. And that maybe that's fair. So I think that's what it is though. And I think this is also the roots of like Gamergate or pickup artist sort of culture where people think that they're the nice guys. They're the protagonists.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this woman, like literally there's this thread on Reddit, on the Blink-182 Reddit, entitled "The Party Song Saved My Ass," and this was only posted 1 year ago. So this person named C Shark 001, I hope that's not your real name because your boss might find out that you said this. But they said, went to a party, got a bit drunk. I got way too into a girl who was trying way too hard to pick up a desperate guy. Had the party song stuck in my head and had been tapping it on my leg for like 20 minutes. Remembered lyrics and got the fuck out. Thanks, Blink. And it's like, first of all, like, I mean, that alone is like, I guess, kind of innocuous, but it's not that great. But then if you scroll down and people are like, saved you, were about to get laid. And then people are like, not everything in life is about sex. If she really was a pain in the ass and he had managed to get laid, he would probably finish his business, get tired of her talking, and then wish for her to leave and never call again. Is it really worth it? Like, there's just this whole thread is just like very gross.
Well, literally, the top comment is another example of the timelessness of Blink-182's music. When you and I are having a specific conversation right now about how, like, fucking dated this sounds. And again, like, I think for people listening to this, like, the guest today is great and really sort of delves into this. So, like, Sarah has some really interesting stuff to say about the idea of, like, this being just super representative of, like, a moment in time for, like, you know, popular depictions of the fucking patriarchy. You know,
but it's like straight up not a moment in time. Like,
no.
And I think it's easy for us to forget that most people on Earth don't know who Eve Pizer is and has a very strong feeling about pro or against Eve Pizer or, like, you know, any of these media Twitter people.
Yeah.
Like, we are in such a specific, tiny world where we think that, like, everyone is just arguing about, like, whether or not quinoa is ethical. Not like these kind of conversations are still happening constantly, and if we just like go outside for a second, it's like still there. That's why I think it would be cool if Mark was like, yo, this song is gross.
Yeah. Oh, these comments are so gross. Yeah, I had kind of convinced myself that I was like, this is like, you know, 90s misogyny culture, but
it's like
no.
in a snow globe of misogyny from a specific time. But yeah, I think the bulk of people, especially because it's so its catchiness is an added problem because it gets stuck with you, and then you want to sing it, and then I don't know. You know, there's like other websites that have lyric interpretations, and the comments are just like an endless stream of like it feels like you're reading 4chan sometimes.
To me, one of the worst things about this, like, never mind the sort of like.
Never mind the bollocks.
You know, the stuff about, like, how it's gross that she's wearing too much makeup and has breast implants, which is, like, literally the cover of your record is a porn star, and there's, like, references to watching porn in the song. So, like, again, if I were a female listener to this song, like, what the fuck are you supposed to take away from this, right? Like, what does this good guy who I'm sure the narrator of the song thinks he's been friend zoned a hell of a lot. Like,
yeah.
What are you supposed to do to, like, what delicate, impossible, secret mystery dance are you supposed to do to, like, win this person's attention, but, like, not somehow be, like, too sexual, like too,
like, what is the archetype of a perfect Pennywise fan?
Just a bro, man. Just a bro for you to sing your hymns with.
Bra him. But it's
to
also
me,
so funny for the purity test to be Pennywise. Like, in my mind, I only associate Pennywise with the absolute worst frat bro type people.
I don't think I've heard a Pennywise song besides Bra Him. But to me, like, somehow the part that I find, like, now in retrospect, like, listening to this song, kind of the most, like, oh, fuck, is the bit about how, like, Mark says he's going to call the girl, but knows he won't until someone else turns him down. And you're like,
yeah,
like, the idea of this woman will just constantly be available to you, despite the fact that you are aloof and, like, better than this whole party. Like, that you're better than the scene, but this, like, presumably beautiful woman, you know, who's put effort into her appearance, and is comfortable with her own sexuality.
And he's like mad that she's like like she's being fun, and he's mad about it.
He hates how fun this person is. I want to find, like, you know, the last pod we sort of tried to figure out who and what the Sally was. Like, I want to find the girl with the green eyes and the long blonde hair who is the subject of the party song, and like get her side of things, you know? Like, just like, I never would have slept with him. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, this fucking nerd. He was like 45 at this frat party.
Yeah, exactly.
He kept trying to talk to me about The Cure, and I was like, "Who's that? I only like Pennywise."
Yeah, that's it. So,
and so, hang on. What is Black Flies? It's like really ugly sunglasses.
The really
right?
ugly sunglasses that I remember looking that up. Like the idea of like this person who like rides for Black Flies, I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And it was like, oh, these are sunglasses that only people in Southern California wear, and it is like not a transferable piece of fashion.
They're very Steve from Smash Mouth sunglasses.
Well, weirdly, I feel like they look a lot like just the Flies, the band.
Yeah. Was the Flies Canadian?
No, the Flies are very California. The Flies are, there's an incredible documentary about this like famous surfing family. So presumably if you're like from California and listening to this, if you're like Bill Billingsley, you might know. So like there's this family, like they all surfed, like the mom, the dad, all of the kids, they were like super fucking famous. And so I watched a documentary about this family, and it's like fascinating. And then just like in the middle, they're like, and then one of them started a fucking band. And it was like, what? Like, this is a documentary about the fucking Flies? Anyway, it's not a documentary about the Flies.
It looks like, you know, they had a couple skaters, Jay Adams and Christian Fletcher. They were surf and skaters. I guess they had a bunch of skaters like Tony Alva and stuff, but they mostly list, first of all, surfing on their website.
Yeah, so there you go.
So maybe, again, the surfing, like all of these things that are just not very relatable from this era. Surfing, not liking ska. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, like Southern California is just another world, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wish we could come to, I guess that thing at the end where he says like he'll sleep with her then if he has to or whatever. Oh, the genius comment on there is really gross too.
What is the genius comment?
Let me see. I just said this off the top of my head. Mark and his bandmates. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, not bandmates. Sorry. Mark and his bandmates disapprove of made-up, fake-breasted women, although they would hook up to ward off feelings of rejection. Just like absolutely the most disgusting and selfish interpretation. And that's why, again, you know, I accidentally made a good point last week about how My Pet Sally, the intention wasn't clear enough. Maybe the intention is too clear here, but either way,
yeah.
There's a responsibility because this exists in the world. This exists, and it's very popular. It's very, very popular, and
like this
whether
exists.
or not,
yeah.
I think this might have even been like on Q or something in Canada. But either way, you know, it's popular, and so you can't just be like, oh well, I've moved on and I only sing about beige little boxes now. You have to still acknowledge, like, you have to do something about this, maybe. Because people are still listening to it all the time.
Do you want to start like a Play Online Songs type single purpose Twitter account that's like apologize for the party song?
Just like address the misogyny in the party song.
Yeah,
from the perspective of a modern
feminist. I bet Mark Hoppus identifies as a feminist. I bet if you asked Mark Hoppus in an interview, he would say, "I'm a feminist." And then you're right. This is just sort of sitting there.
And then he would like be like, they'd be like, "Oh, really? Like, what do you mean?" And he'd show them that he subscribes to Lenny Letter.
Right, yeah. And he's like tweeted about Hillary Clinton before.
He watched what was that Netflix show about Nasty Gal, like the Girl Boss. He's like, I've watched all of Girl Boss the night it came out. I get it. I'm down for the cause.
That's good, man. He's an ally. It's true. So, I mean, do you think because this has got to be, by the way, the most we've ever talked about the song. You recently had I thought a very interesting tweet that you sent out from the Offish account, you know, about people binging the show, because we were getting a lot of tweets of people saying like, "Oh, I just found out about the podcast. I listened to every episode in 3 days. I want to fucking die."
And the responses were legit. I want to fuck you, or like I want to wear your skin. Yeah. I want to fuck.
But all the responses were like pretty funny. And then somebody said like, "Yeah, I listened to the entire like entire history of the podcast in an hour. The trick is I only listen to the parts where you talk about Blink-182.
Yeah. I think we're up to like an hour and 35 minutes now with this one.
At this point. So, I mean, we talked a little bit about the music. I feel like we've sort of subject-wise done this to death. We've made very clear that we are like good men. And,
yeah, but I don't really care. That's not as important to me as it is to you, clearly.
Right. Yeah.
But I just, usually there's some sort of like, usually we go on an actual journey and we arrive at something. And
Yeah.
I'm so disappointed that we haven't. It's just like really, I feel gross.
Well, if we had not started with the realization that this song is actually sort of embedded with the most kind of hypocritical tenets of kind of like bullshitty Christianity, that could have been the revelation. Like, so if we memento this, and
you can fix that in the editing.
I'm gonna do like a fully memento style edit of this podcast where everyone's gonna start here and have to sort of figure out that ultimately
it's going to come out in 2020, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
All the production. Well, no, we could quickly, before we get into the next little bit, let's at the very least, let's just mention a little bit more musically. I do love that it's pop punk, and this is one of the ones that's on the Enema of the State demo.
Oh, is it? Is the demo worse though? Is it going to be one of those things like the Christmas song where it's like more sexist or something?
No, it's the same amount of sexist, which we've already beaten to death. But I will say that at the very least, Travis is a little bit more tasteful on the demo, probably because he didn't have to do anything.
Okay.
But so yeah, let's hear the demo. I'm probably not going to play the whole thing, but I don't remember if we'll get to it or not. But I'll say ahead of time, there are also no na-na-nas on the demo.
Oh shit! Okay.
Do you wanna come to a party? My friends pick me up in their truck at 11:30. It seems at a frat house where people are cool. They're reluctant. I followed, but I never dreamed there would be someone there who would catch my attention. I wasn't out searching for love or affection, so I paid my $3 and the girls got it free. Shined the beer for tequila, and we headed into the party. And then in the backyard, some terrible stop dancing. One in the background was doing a kickstand. The street seems so lame. All these girls look the same. All these guys have no game. I'm shopping and staying in my bed back at home watching TV alone where I put on.
You know what sucks is like after us talking for like an hour and 45 fucking minutes about what a just like wretched piece of like, you know, patriarchal rhetoric this is. I still was like, this song rips when it started. You know?
I know. I found myself like defending it as I was listening. I was like, well, you know, like Lagwagon and NoFX also had really bad songs back then.
Yeah, like it's interesting though. Like that is kind of substantially slower, right?
Yeah, it is. I think it is quite a bit slower, and it's like Travis is just playing a punk beat for the most part. He's not like being so wanky the whole time, and I think it serves it pretty well.
I guess one of the things I noticed listening back to it on headphones before we started recording is how chopped up Mark's vocals are, and it's interesting hearing it on the demo because it's obvious that he just has to keep up with it. But once they got in the studio, they were able to really do like a ton of kind of massaging, and that's something I find a little disorienting about
misogyny.
Yeah, but you know, it was fine.
What do you find disorienting about what?
Just like the way like his vocals are like clearly being cut up on it. Like it's not a really smooth edit. You know, I think about like, I feel like we've talked about this before, but like, you know, the Foo Fighters, the big like bellowy bridge in Monkey Wrench, which like Dave Grohl cannot do with a single breath because it's just like long and shouty and at the top of his register. But the way it's edited on that record, like it sounds flawless. Like it sounds like a man just like screaming wicked shit from the top of a fucking rock mountain.
Please stop. Please stop. Save me.
Yeah. You know what's funny though? Like I think about, I hate to get back into this, but like in my mind, and this will happen like sort of, again, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit later on in the episode, but like,
you just like mansplain Dave Grohl to our guests the whole time.
I do, yeah. It's really bad, man.
You're like, name 5 recent Foo Fighter singles. Before I turn your mic on.
But like the notion of like dismissing this song as being part of a time, which I was trying to do and you were not letting me do, doesn't really hold water because, like, you think about how capital F feminist like Kurt Cobain was and Nirvana were.
Sorry. I'm listening. I didn't mean to do that.
But like,
yes,
that was pop, and that was years before this, right? And like, and that was real. That was like in action and in music, and very much a part of, that band. And then I think subsequently the scene that they spawned. And so to have this kind of like, one step forward, two steps back into the kind of like lazy misogyny that punk was ostensibly like railing against is like super disheartening, right?
I mean, I guess first of all, my new tick is that I say first of all the time. I just noticed.
Here's the thing, Josiah.
Here's the thing. First of all, now I lost my thought by criticizing myself. I think this does point to the fact that this style of music was not considered punk at the time, and
sure.
Maybe pop culture has gotten so saccharine and clean that now we think back as Blink-182 being punk because we were kids and it seemed like punk. But I'm sure that like most people in punk were totally against this and offended by it. But I bet you there's also a ton of like shitty misogyny in like whatever Maximum Rock and Roll was reviewing at the time too.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got like bands like the Dickies or whatever, I think, did they actually get kicked off of Warped Tour for being too fucking sexist or whatever last year? Like,
oh yeah,
which was
I was going to ask you that question. Do you think if Kurt, whatever his last name was, still alive, Kurt Cobain, would he be alt-right or would he be libertarian, or what do you think? I feel like he would. I just get a feeling that he wouldn't have been the greatest politically.
I don't want to wade into this because I just feel like anything I say is going to be wrong, and it just feels too weird to talk about.
Courtney Love was being like
crazy
Islamophobic on Twitter this week too.
Is she?
So yeah, I don't know, but also, oh yeah, this sort of points actually. Here's the circle we can do,
okay.
Which is that this is sort of what I was talking about. You can't really. The problem here is that Blink-182 doesn't sound like they're of a time. This song, I put it on now, and I'm like, this sounds like the exact pop punk I want to hear every day of my fucking life. So that's why it's more of a problem, because it doesn't have any like production ticks or like it doesn't have any major signifier. Like if this was like a dubstep song that was about like the Ice Bucket Challenge, you'd be like, oh, a dubstep song about Ice Bucket. I know exactly what era this is from. But
I mean, people say that about the Descendants, right? And I think we've talked about that before, like that there's like really problematic Descendants songs, but those songs sound like a 16-year-old wrote them. They are so coated in amber and exist only in the past. The Descendants are influential, but those records don't sound like any bands making music in 2018. Whereas this could be like a really cool 5 Seconds of Summer song, maybe.
Well, I think this sounds like more energetic and raw than like any of these all-time low shit that I hear all the time. Mm-hmm. Any of that kind of like, it's just, this is like the gold standard for what major label pop punk could sound like.
I totally agree. Yeah. And that's why it sucks.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you can't just be like, oh, it was the 30s. It's fine.
Yeah, it's true. And there's been a lot of like, if I really edited the podcast, which I stopped doing because it was taking years off my life, there has been so much.
And because you were making it bad also.
Right, yeah.
Let's not forget.
We have been steadily improving our numbers since the podcast became like 4 hours of just.
Well, the main thing I get from friends who start listening to it is like, how do you edit it so seamlessly? Like, right. How do you make it sound like there's no edits? And I'm like, wow.
Well, the key. But I will say this one for sure, because we're sort of talking about, I think, bigger concepts, and also we're a little outside of our comfort. Like, this is not the sort of conversation that you and I just engage in. Like, I mean, I talk about these things, but this is not my area of expertise, right? It's like depictions of misogyny in popular culture. Like, I'm not a feminist music critic. That's not like in my.
Do you guys hear that? He just said, "I'm not a feminist."
Yeah. Whoa. This is why I will never be a successful politician. But like, So we're humming and hawing a lot, and I just think it'd be very funny to listen back to this and see how every transition is you or I going,
I'm just disappointed that I guess we sort of arrived at something. So let's move on.
We're not going to get anywhere better. I don't think that anything good is going to come from us just flogging this any further.
Yeah. Flogging Molly.
Not a problematic band to the end, it turns out.
Oh, really? I don't care. I don't want to know. They're problematic to me.
Okay, so you're sending me things. Does that mean we're into covers, or are we in this sort of pre-cover?
This is the pre-cum of covers. This is, I think it's safe to call this Scrams, Scram season.
Okay.
This is a band. Can you actually open it and read it? Because if I open it, it's going to start playing, and then it'll be really awkward edit. And if I just ask you to do it on mic, then it'll be a more smooth transition.
Okay, so so this song is by New World Vulture, and the song is called "The First Time I Got Fucked Up Was to the Party Song" by Blink-182.
Oh, is it fucked up? I thought it was the first time I got fucked. Okay, that makes a bit more. That's a bit better, I guess. Okay, so that's what the song is called. So let's listen to. The band name that you just said.
Wow, I guess you could have done the intro.
Oh, fuck me. I had my volume low.
Oh, shit. Okay, let's do that again. So this song is by New World Vulture, and it's called "The First Time I Got Fucked Up Was to the Party Song" by Blink-182. Can I be 100% honest with you, Josiah? And
I would have it no other way.
Okay, so this is like a real thing for me. I don't know what Scrams is. Like, I see everyone is talking about it, and I feel like it's a thing that I should have understood, but I don't. And now that I've heard that, I only it's just page 99. Like, it's
Yeah. Okay. One sec. First of all, we got to clarify something. The band was actually called Merchant Ships. I think that maybe that was the label or just the name of the user that uploaded it.
Okay.
So the band is called Merchant Ships.
Okay.
And they have a Genius page, but they really don't mention Blink-182 at all in the lyrics. So fucking good one, guys. Yeah. Scrams is like, it's like the you're not a real Pennywise fan of emo music. It's like the purists, the fucking nerd dweebs, the nice guys who have a purity test for emo, I think. So like they want everything to sound like Gravity Records or like Revolution Summer Guy Picciotto ass or like, you know, like true first generation screamo kind of shit.
So why don't they just call it screamo? Why do they have to give it this like cute
because
it sounds like
screamo
skiffle to me. It makes me think that it's going to be a skiffle song.
I guess like maybe the tradition of this kind of music is that the genre names have always been embarrassing. Like screamo is horrifying. Power violence is bad. Screamo violence.
Oh, power violence is sick. Power violence is such a sick
It is, but it's also
name.
it's funny. It's like stupid.
Yeah.
But you know, like screamo became Under Oath. So then all of these people who all look identical, they all wear the jelly bracelets and have like nice dark brown hair and a tight Seisha t-shirt on.
This is like the missing fourth verse of the party song.
I would write that song. And they all love Orchid and Mount Erie. Every Scrams kid seems to love those two things.
Okay.
Exclusively. But yeah, Scrams is just like the pure of the, I don't know. It's like the I think it's like current too. I'm not an expert either because I kind of hate it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked all those bands at the time, but you know, I don't need like new that. But you know, that's me, an old man talking.
But you know, they named their song that, so we had to play it, and here we are.
Of course, that's the law. So,
Blink 155 law.
It's truly the worst laws in the world.
So, unfortunately, I've got quite a few covers written down.
Can we do the thing where you like pick the ones that you've written the funniest sort of like notes for?
Well, okay, let's see. There's a couple that I definitely should play.
Okay. Like if it's just kids playing in a garage, but you like think one of them like looks really charming, I don't care.
Well, there's definitely going to be some of that, but there was some young girls listening to it in the room, and it was like so voyeuristic and horrifying that I had to close it, and I didn't even save the link because it was. Oh no, there I did save the link, but I don't think I'll play it. We can skip Funky Bandana Guy because I just thought his bandana was a little bit funky.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I will say I did do some editing this week. I edited out the people that we've covered too much in the past. So those two guys who were in a bath together, Halocene, they did a cover of it, and I was like, how could they make it any worse than doing either talking about it in the bath or doing like a dumb folk cover? And then they just did a straight ahead like party punk cover with like a party music. It was so frustrating. And also I skipped over the like chiptune weird guy that you bought his album, you know. That was
awesome.
Because we'll come back to him. We'll come back to that for a different Enema song because the party song's not that good. But I'm going to show you like this. I feel like this song has been like adapted by the frat bros that it's about. So this is.
These guys are very.
These guys.
frat.
This is uploaded in 2009, and their username is Shamrock Shakespeare. And I don't know. Do you want to describe what they look like? They
look like they just like fell off of a party bus that was headed to Daytona Beach. I mean,
the necklace, the hemp necklace that he's wearing, does not make this seem like 2009 frat style that I would think.
No, this seems like 1999 frat style. Like I'm astonished.
They look like frat extras where like the costume person was just being lazy and picking out frat outfits from any era.
Yeah, it's true. They didn't have a good costume budget, so they were like, these are the leftovers from American Pie 5. I don't know.
Yeah. So let's hear what Shamrock Shakespeare has to say.
Do you want to come to a party? My friends pick me up in the truck at 11:30. This thing's at a frat house, but people look cool there. Reluctant, I don't know, but I never dreamed there would be someone there who would catch my attention. I was seen out searching for love or affection, so I paid my 3 and the girls got a shot and then 4 tequila, and we headed into the party. And then in the backyard, some tail was copping some money. In the background was doing a kick.
Oh my God. They look so satisfied with themselves while they're doing it.
I know.
And like
this is just like pure, like sometimes if you have this like ego where you're like, you have the fleeting moment where you're like, I mean, I know what male privilege is, but like, come on, I'm like on your guy's side. But then you watch this and you're like, oh damn. Anytime that I'm ever like confident, it looks like this.
This is like literally a PSA for white male privilege. They think they look so fucking cool. And because I didn't have the video playing initially, so I was just hearing it and I was like, oh, that's kind of sweet. It's like janky. And then I put the video to the front and like the guy who's singing like thinks he's fucking hot. Like he definitely
he looks like he's from 8 Mile. Like he's like spitting bars.
Yeah, like he's oh God. Oh,
it's very it's funny how he's like singing the lines too fast as if they're playing the song as fast as it is on the recording, but it's like while the other guy's doing his sublime guitar.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is like so thanks, man, that's great.
I'm gonna keep it in a gross realm for a little while here, because you know, of all the time that we've been doing this fine project of ours, we've hated on it so much, and yet we've never played a uke cover.
Oh, that's true. We've sort of danced around the uke. So you're saying you're going to play...
We've talked about how ukes are terrible, but I mean, everything that we play is terrible. Like, this is a terrible project, so why don't we just embrace the uke?
Yeah, totally.
We should do it all... In fact, we should do it all uke-scluse.
I don't know, man.
6 hours of ukes.
I don't know. But yeah, okay, sure. I mean,
I'll press the button and drop the ukes. Get it? Instead of nukes. Look, it's not a good podcast.
Okay, can we just get like I'm trying to like not talk. You know that thing where you're like, okay, I'm done with this conversation, but you don't want to be like,
that's
I
like
have
me at
to
every
go.
work meeting. Me at every work meeting, I refuse to speak so that it's over sooner. Yeah. Well, this is Alex Pizzle from Australia, where I'm very popular now that I've recorded a podcast that's coming out in like a month.
That's right.
But so Alex Pizzle, and I chose this one because it's not like just him in his dorm. Like it's like a uke cover with some production value. So
Okay.
Here you go.
Do you want to come to a party? My friends pick me up in a truck at 11:30. This thing's at a frat house for people. They're cool, they're reluctant. I follow, but I never dreamed there would be someone there who would catch my attention. I wasn't out searching for love or affection, so I paid my $3 and the girls got in free. Shined a beer for tequila and we headed into the party. And then in the backyard, some terrible ska bands.
What if I just played the whole 3.5 minute cover?
That was the most Australian fucking thing I could ever imagine. What a fucking horrible country. What a just a rotten bunch of criminals. Just
like honestly,
never need to hear anything like that ever again in my life.
Now that I'm popular in Australia, it's a little difficult. But I mean, someone got mad at us for saying that. I don't even remember. I insinuated that everyone in Australia is a jock, and someone from Australia got mad at me. So I'm not saying it anymore. But
well, you know what? I'll be the bad cop to the sort of criminals of Australia, and you can be the good cop and be like, my partner here, he wants to say that you're all jocks, and they are. They're all jocks, and
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the sound
like,
of a jock
fucking
country
question.
come to life.
Oh
God. You know that band, the Smith Street Band? Have you ever listened to them? Like,
no.
So they're like,
are they a uke band?
They're not ukey. They're like in that sort of like genre of punk that is like, you know, Jeff Rosenstock and Pup, like that kind of like specific sort of punk thing that's happening right now, and like. So ostensibly something I should love. Like I love those fucking bands, and it's like a sort of a sound and a lyrical approach that I am with, and it's great.
I'm getting real quiet over here.
Yeah,
I'm getting real quiet over here right now.
But like,
carry on.
The fucking like every time the guy starts singing, it's just that. It's like. Do you want to come? And I just like I can't, man. There's some accents that are just like enchanting. Every kind of English accent, just like fucking great. Like I cannot with the Australian accent, man. I can't.
Well, it might have worked if it was like a sloppy punk song and then it was just a nice flourish. But when he just has built such an intimate bed, it's like the rose petals are all there with the hand percussion and the gentle uke. You're like, wow, the voice is really going to shine when it comes in. And then it just sounds like
it sounds like he's doing
so
an impression.
Australian that it's so Australian that it sounds like a bad Newsies accent. Like it's not even.
I honestly was like, I think that's racist. Like I think I don't think you can do that. And I'm
okay.
I just want to say I am really sorry to the good people of Australia, because I gather there's a few of you that listen to this podcast, and I don't.
I mean, hopefully we'll get some people from other countries soon, so we can start being more honest about Australia. But until then, thanks for listening.
I want to be, maybe like we can be in the news in Australia where it's like racist Blink-182 podcast.
But I feel like that's the thing. Here's the thing. That's the thing. First of all,
yeah,
I do feel like maybe Australians are like realize that they're obnoxious. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah.
If you're Australian and you think that you're cool, tweet at us why, and I'll interact with you. Yeah. I'm not gonna go any further than that, but tell us why you're cool, and also maybe make it a video so that we hear you saying it.
Yeah, I want you to say why you're cool. I feel like I like people from New Zealand. I follow a few.
Oh yeah,
a few of them on
question.
Twitter and stuff. But you know what I mean? Like I look at my Twitter feed, and I definitely got a couple of Kiwis in there. People from all over the world. No Australians. I don't think I follow a single Australian on Twitter.
I actually follow a couple, a couple very offensive ones. Like some irony bros. I shouldn't be mentioning that on this episode of all episodes.
I know, right?
I think I do it mostly because I'm so addicted to Twitter that I need people in different time zones to be giving me content at all hours.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I get that. That's defensible.
All right, well, sorry, but we're still just plowing through these. So I got a couple left. This one I'm playing because it's under the genre neo folk on SoundCloud.
That's just folk that's racist, right?
I like very, very possibly. The artist is, and I hate this kind of wordplay, but it's Black Facts, like FACTS, but then it's also /Black Fax, like a fax machine.
Oh,
fax.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
So I don't know. And this was recorded 2011, 2012. Keep it spooky, they write. So let's try to take their heed and listen to this cover of the party song.
Okay. So, do you think this is someone who, like, loved Death in June, but thought, I don't really fuck with this Nazi stuff, but I want to take that vibe, and I just want to make it about, like, Southern California's sexist party culture. Like, those are my interests.
When you take this song and make it, well, I mean, look, we've heard it be turned into like a frat bro novelty song, but it's still in a very bright and shiny way. But as soon as you take it and make it this like basement dwelling, like misanthropic, like me against the world vibe, I immediately thought of Elliot Rodgers' Manifesto. It's like, it becomes like very, very terrifying.
Yeah. No, that's what that is. Absolutely.
So, love it.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I'm putting it on my playlist.
Sam, let's get into two things that are good. Let's try to fucking redeem ourselves here.
Oh, fucking God. Okay, yeah.
So there are 3 EDM remixes of this song. I'm just going to play you the most popular one. But
Okay, thank you.
I just want you to know that there are 3. And people listening who are like, no, there aren't 3. Trust me, there are fucking 3. I spent a long time digging, and they're there.
No one's saying there aren't 3, man. No one.
Well, if it ever comes to that, I just want them to know that I've looked. Okay?
Okay.
This one has been uploaded numerous times. It just says Cher remix. I don't know if the artist name is Cher, like Share.
Okay.
Which is it's kind of a good name, like because you're always sharing things. So maybe would it be good for your SEO or terrible for it? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna start a band called Like and Subscribe.
Well, I was actually thinking the other day, do you think if you started a band called Playlist that you would be so popular on Spotify?
Oh, I mean, I think there's only one way to find out, and that should be the next project that we do is
right, start a band called Playlist.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go with Cher.
And then I saw her standing there with green eyes and long blonde hair. She wasn't wearing underwear, at least I prayed that she might be the one. Maybe we'd have some fun, maybe we'd watch the sunrise. But that night I learned some girls try too hard. Some girls try too hard. And some girls try too hard to impress with the way that they dress, with those things on their chest and the things they suggest to me.
I forgot how long the build-ups are. If we we're just gonna have to live without the drop.
Yeah, that's okay. That was fucking wicked, though.
I think you love EDM.
I do. Every time you play an EDM remix, I think this is my favorite. But I loved what they did with the chords under the melody. Like it's not like a 1-to-1 recreation, right? It actually sounds comparatively somber.
Right. Yeah. I mean, after talking about the lyrics for so long, I wish there was less of them. Even if you just said some girls try too hard, then that sentence on its own is like slightly less offensive because some of everyone tries too hard.
Right. It comes back to your original sort of thought about the song.
Yeah, but like still adding it. But yeah, I mean, I also love it. I mean, come on, people who pretend not to like EDM, it's like insane.
No, it's chemically designed to make you feel
Like
a certain
it
way.
sounds like candy.
Yeah.
It's like it's so it's crazy. But I'd like to. So you liked that?
Yeah.
that's good. All right, good for you.
Okay.
I'm gonna end us with just something very heartwarming that just makes me happy.
Sorry, saying you're going to end us, like especially sort of in the context of this like project that is probably taking years off of our lives, was actually made me feel really good. I was like, oh, thank God, the sweet release of death.
No, I meant like a happy ending.
Okay, well, good.
I'm gonna finish you. So this is just like so cute, and I love it. And I don't mean to say that it's cute in like a patronizing way, but these three young girls are pretty horrible at music, but they're having a lot of fun. And I want to end on a positive note, so I'm going to start on a negative note. They're playing in a kitchen of their house, and the first comment says, "Awesome, really good, and I really don't want to be that asshole guy that says, 'Oh, make me a sandwich,' but you're pretty much asking for not when you're playing in the fucking kitchen." Mm-hmm. So, I mean, really, everyone sucks ass and is horrible.
Okay.
And fuck that person and that. But other than that, so the user is Suzella June Mariluz Jimenez. Probably said it wrong. She wrote, "Enjoy. Don't be too cruel, but thanks for watching." And you know what? I don't want to be too cruel. So there's a little intro where they talk about it, and then we can watch them play. But I'd like to describe what they're playing first. I don't know if you've got it open, but there are some electronic drums with like red plastic cymbals. The main girl, I think she's just playing a bass, right? She's playing a normal bass, some sort of sticker, I can't tell. But the real star of the show is the guitarist, because she's playing a guitar that's covered in M&Ms.
Oh, yeah. What the fuck?
It's so good. I wish they were playing this like M&Ms, but like, where would you even get that guitar from? It's a really weird shape, and it has just like, maybe she won it.
Yeah. Or
Maybe she won it.
it's got to be like only available at the M&M store in Times Square. I'm Googling M&M guitar. Yo, that's like a guitar you can buy.
Is it really?
I don't know. There's a photo of it on Flickr. So like, and guitarblog.com. So this guitar was a promotional guitar that I don't know. It was a giveaway. So this person doesn't know. So this is a guitar blog, and they're saying, I'm not sure if these guitars were promotional giveaways or competition prizes, or if you actually had to buy them. But he doesn't see, this GL Wilson doesn't seem to know where you would actually get this guitar.
It's really cool. It's like so disgusting.
It
only has one pickup and just, I see a volume and tone. But it's like, oh man. It doesn't even have a brand other than M&M on the top.
It's so, and you can't buy it on eBay. Like there's Christmas ornaments of like M&M's playing guitars, but this guitar is seemingly like
well, that alone. I mean, sometimes a band is just cool for their gear alone, and so already this band who doesn't have a name, maybe you should call yourselves Playlist. That would be a good name to get up there on Spotify.
There you go. Good suggestion.
Okay, so let's listen to these girls, and yeah.
So this is the Party Song by Blink-182, and it's a band cover, and we've rehearsed it about 1 million times and done loads of videos, and they've all been crap, so hopefully this one will be good. Yeah.
Yeah, enjoy!
And it doesn't have a backing track, by the way, so I'm going to try and say it, but you won't be able to hear it, so yeah.
Yeah, just ignore her mouth moving.
Ready? Go.
That fucking ruled.
There is nothing I love more in the world than inept suburban pop punk. It makes me so happy. It turns me into the most earnest, smiling, giggly boy. I just feel so happy. And I will say, I feel like I need to say a little caveat right now, which is that there's also such a thing as, like, especially with indie music, there's a thing of, like, the Shags or, like, people like girl bands that can't play, and it becomes another weird form of objectification in my mind where it's like, you know, like, that has grossed me out before, where people are like, oh, I love this band because they can barely play. It's just like a bunch of cute girls who can barely play. And I feel like that also is shitty, and I don't want to be like that. But regardless of gender, these are girls who, like, don't give a fuck, and these are the coolest girls. And, like, anyone who would be like, oh, you don't know your chops or you don't know the history of punk, like, those people suck. This is, like, the most punk thing in the world.
Yeah, well, the intro is, like, alone is extremely energetic and charming, and yeah, that's great. I know.
I wish it's so lo-fi. I can't see what the sticker is on her guitar, but she has some sort of band sticker. I wish I could see it so that I could grill her about her knowledge of the band. But
well, Josiah, let me grill you about your final thoughts on the party song by Blink-182.
I don't know. I feel weird. I don't know what to say. Like, I honestly wish that I would have arrived at a conclusion. I really did like this song a lot, but I hadn't really dug into it this much until today either, and I honestly don't think I'll ever listen to it again, or I'll try not to. Yeah. Because it's too much. It's no good.
So, my final thought is kind of similar. Like, I don't think this is not a song that, like, I put on, and I do, like, we've disagreed about this, but, like, I listen to Blink-182 still, like, as a consistent part of my diet, and in general, Enema and, like, definitely this song has never really been a part of it. It's weird listening to it in these sort of disconnected segments where I kind of forget about the larger sort of shitty context of it, and I'm just like, it's a good song. Like, I wish sometimes we do this thing where we listen to songs that I've forgotten about, and all of a sudden I, like, want to hear it all the time, and yeah, I kind of feel the same where I'm like, sort of gross, and it's a bummer.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's just so many other things out there, so it's fine.
Yeah, totally.
It's like when people argue about separating the art and the artist, it's like, why don't you just check out all the other cool shit? Like, there's way too much cool shit in the world already.
There's a lot of extremely good shit, and you can experience it. Some of that good shit is coming up on this podcast in the form of a guest who has a lot to say on this subject, also a lot to say about having a crush on Travis Barker as a teen, and, I
don't think I've ever heard of anyone have a crush on Travis Barker, actually, now that I think
really?
of it.
I feel like
I'm sure it's happened, but of the people that I've grown up with, no one ever did.
All right, well, so tweet at us if you're a furious Australian. Tweet at us if you write for a local or a national publication and you want to feature one or both of us. And definitely let us know if you experience your sexual awakening to a Blink-182 poster in your bedroom. So Sarah Boesveld is a senior writer at Chatelaine. She was tweeting about Blink and ended up in our orbit, and super excited to dig into her history with the band, and especially sort of her perspective on this song and sort of Blink in sort of a larger culture, and how we kind of untangle all that. So I really appreciated her coming on. She had a lot of really smart things to say, unlike you and I who hum our way through our lives. So this is Sarah Boesveld.
And then I saw her standing there with green eyes and long blonde hair. She wasn't wearing underwear, at least I prayed that she might be the one. Maybe we'd have some fun, maybe we'd watch the sunrise, but that night I learned some girls try too hard.
So Sarah, before we start, I got to give some credit to a friend of the pod, Drew Fairservice, who hosts the excellent, not Blink-182 related podcast, Birds All Day, and who saw you tweeting about spending a day listening to Enema of the State and insisted that you come on this podcast. And
bless you, Drew.
Yeah, so thank you to Drew. And I want to know,
Drew.
what were you going through that day that made you just want to listen to Enema of the State as an adult? Because it's something that not everyone understands.
Yeah, you and I understand intrinsically, though.
And anyone listening to this podcast
Friday.
understands for sure.
Yeah, I think it was a Friday. I often will, like, slip into my juvenile version of myself on Fridays. I don't know about anybody else out there. I think I find on Twitter, especially I'd share this on Twitter, but I was listening to it on Spotify, of course, and I just kind of was like, I'm not the only one who's kind of like having a, Friday, like I'm ready for the weekend. Let's like kick back with some nostalgia. And so I actually listen to pop punk, a lot. I run to it. Like, I'm like the lady running down the road with Lululemon on, but I'm like listening to Blink-182 and like Annie Flag and, everybody else. So, it was in my brain somewhere, and I just decided that album was worth revisiting, and I actually had not revisited it in its entirety for a while. So I decided to do it that day.
And according to your subsequent tweets, this album does sort of take you back to a very specific emotional time in your life, as obviously like anything with this sort of nostalgic chord in it does.
For sure.
What is that for you? What are the strings that are being plucked in your heart when Dumpweed starts or when the party song starts?
Yeah, well, I basically see in my mind opening my locker in grade 10 in small town, Eastern Ontario, and there's like a picture from the big tour book of, what was the Take Off Your Pants and Jacket tour, I think, which was the album after this one.
Yeah.
But I just see like the Mark Hoppus, picture of the Travis Barker, which obviously I had a little higher up because he was my super crush.
So
Travis
he was
Barker.
between Mark, Tom, and Travis. Travis was the object of your affection.
Yeah, which is interesting because he's the drummer, right? It's not that we know anything of his heart and soul and whatever put into that. So I don't know why. Maybe I don't know why I picked him. Apart from like all the tattoos, and he just looked like a badass, and those soulful blue eyes, He
had a vibe that was simultaneously very dangerous with the tattoos, but then also the depths of the soul was very real, I think.
There was something. I also liked Mark Hoppus too, right? Like, and when you're a girl in high school and grade 8 or middle school, I guess. You kind of like, I like him. No, I like him. Like, I used to roll my eyes at the girls that loved the Backstreet Boys and O-Town and all those. O-Town was like the time when I was in high school.
I'm sure we will
reference now.
No, this podcast is mostly talking about O-Town. There's surprisingly little Blink-182 chatter on this podcast. It's
man,
very Lou Pearlman focused.
I know people in my small town who really should be doing an O-Town podcast. No, but I think you just pick the one that you like, and it changes sometimes. But I liked Mark before, and then it was Travis. But yeah, an emotional time for me. Blink-182 obviously was kind of like my very first foray into punk, which I think it was for a lot of people. Yeah, because it's pretty light stuff, right?
It's a gateway drug for sure. Yeah, it's
a gateway drug. Yeah, so that was my first actually. So my emotional relationship with Blink-182 actually precedes Enema of the State, slightly. Not timing-wise, I think the album was out right when I discovered them, but I actually discovered Dude Ranch first, because my crush in grade 7 and 8 liked Dude Ranch. Sick. And so he had shared the CD with me. I think, I don't know why he would share anything with me. Certainly didn't share my affection for him.
But shared his Blink CD. This is good. It's a start.
Get me some juicy stuff here. And it was just this, I'm connecting with this, juvenile young man that I love so deeply. And that I'm prepubescent girl, and I'm kind of I have feelings, and he's just such a dumb boy and does not have feelings at all for anyone except for
he just loves Mark and Tom and Scott at that point, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. So it was a way to connect, but also I really just did. I think it was a part of kind of forming my own identity as sort of rebellious in this small town where people listen to just what was on the radio. And up until then, Blink-182 wasn't even really on the radio. They were just starting to play all the small things and that kind of thing, right? That was probably around the first foray on the radio, right? Did they play anything on the radio prior to that?
They would play Damn It on the radio, in Toronto.
Yeah.
Also, you'd be surprised how little I know. They wouldn't play it in Ottawa. Yeah, Josiah is the one, he's the co-host, and he does all the research. I'm kind of I'm not even the affable foil.
You're the personality.
No, not even. As we get into this, I increasingly realize. Yeah, I'm like a vestigial tail, essentially. But that's around that time where I think, Damn It was on the radio, but all the small things kind of hadn't taken off yet. And there's a little bit of a period there where it's starting to kind of bubble up for people.
But like songs like Damn It, like they had, and Waggy, like they had that sort of like longing in it that I connected with, despite my stupid crush, like not reciprocating. Like I connected with like, you know, Mark and Tom and what they were saying. But I was on the flip side of it, like this immature boy who was like the reason I liked this band. Like I couldn't even fathom him actually getting what they were talking about in those songs, you know, unless he was like thinking and feeling that way about some girl who went to some other school, which is probably
or like a girl
like
from camp or something. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like that caliber of cool. And like, they don't like anyone at the school because they're like too good. And they're like, they're dating somebody from over yonder, you know? So
yeah. The classic American girlfriend that we all have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you? I actually haven't.
Long-winded answer to your question.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I haven't really considered it, you know, from that perspective. But like when you would listen to those songs, did you feel like did you identify with, you know, Mark or Tom at like as the protagonist as yourself, or were you envisioning these emotionally unavailable boys listening to it and like you being the object of the song?
Totally.
Like, where do you sit in that?
Totally me. Well, I would imagine, obviously, like if this emotionally unavailable boy that I liked, he was like the girl they were talking about in the song, you know, like I was the one who was like feeling the things. That's always kind of going to be the way, right? Like you're going to connect with what the sort of vantage point of that, of whoever's singing, I think, so I think that was always the case for me. So it was, like it was just, I felt, you know, real feelings. Blink-182, like, you know, I listen to it now and I'm like, that all sounds really juvenile. But like, obviously I listen to it now with the second layer of like, I know how much this meant to me back then, like, you know, and I honestly think like songs like Adam Song are really stand up good songs that like say something that nobody was saying at the time, you know, and I know there's a lot of pop culture about like divorce and things like that and like family troubles, but not really about suicide and like those kinds of feelings and stuff. Like I mercifully was never in that zone, and I know a lot of people were when they were young. So like I just know that they meant something to people in a way that was like much more serious and deep than I think they get any credit for.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately for you and I today, though, we're not talking about one of those songs that has a depth to it that they don't get credit for. We're talking about the party song.
But hey, man, that's like the fabric of teenage and young adult life. I think it's still real that way.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
But you're right. Shallowness, like shallow end, not deep end.
Yeah, even though the song itself seems to sort of rally against shallowness in some of its forms. Like, do you remember having a relationship with this song as like a teenager when you were first getting into this record?
You know, I think I was like, what are they trying to say about women?
It's tough. It is a convoluted message here.
Yeah, it is, right? Because it's like, I think the like some girls try too hard line. It really, of course, like this wasn't not one of my favorite songs, but like it, you know, that line kind of makes you go, oh, you're not supposed to be that kind of girl. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a lot to be said about guys liking and like young women learning to be that cool girl, right? Like the one that wants to hang out, like the guys want to hang out with, and she's not going to like be dramatic and she's not going to cause trouble. And at the same time, there's a lot of like undertones in the song about like women being forward with their sexuality and going for what they want. And that also kind of being seen as like a bad thing. So I don't know. That's my read on that song. You know, it's like, oh, she's trying too hard. Like she's getting in, you know, but there's a layer of insecurity too that's also there. Like clearly they're trying hard because they think that they're giving you something that you want, and that's not it either. You know, so it's kind of like, it's relatable in the sense of like, you're trying and because you want these things and you feel these things, and it's not being reciprocated because they want the cool girl who's in the porn movie, you know, that they're whacking off to, you know, home by themselves. Or like, you know what I mean? Like it's they don't want you. They want that. So they get really deep. Hey, it's not that shallow.
No, it's actually, it deals with, it really gets in. It gets into some complicated ideas, yeah, of like, I guess, teenage male sexuality and this idea that, and I always wonder what it would be like, yeah, to be on the flip side of it, because it's this idea of not wanting, again, not wanting a girl who tries too hard, but like also very specifically, as you mentioned, there's a line about like, I could be at home, you know, whacking off to porn. Then you're like, okay, but like, but simultaneously criticizing the human woman in front of him at this party for having breast implants. And
or who thinks that she's fulfilling this fantasy that these guys want, you know? And I think like there's a lot of pressure there put on the girl that I don't think maybe they were very smartly writing that in intentionally, but I think they really did, you know, write from that one vantage point. But at the same time, it's like as a girl listening to it, that's what you hear. And if we think about the timing and the context of when this album came out too, like, wasn't that like American Pie and like all those sorts of like Road Trip, like all those movies where it was really, which I loved all those movies. And as like a young, you know, a young teen growing up, like they were pretty risque for me. Like it was sort of like world that was inaccessible, right? Like there were like bush parties where I grew up, but no one was like actually doing the keg stand thing. It was kind of like a caricature that the song also kind of went there as well and replayed. And so I think it just kind of, I wrapped all those ideas up together too, you know, that it was all about men and their sexuality and what they wanted and how they went for things. And yeah, like not to get like too capital F feminist on you, but that, you know, like it was very little about the women at all or what they wanted, like what they truly wanted and how they felt.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can get us capital F
Mm-hmm.
feminist on this podcast as you would like, and I mean, I think it's interesting as well because this album like literally has a porn star on the cover too, right? So
an actual real porn star, yeah.
And so I always struggle with this, and this has sort of come up a few times. You know, Josiah and I kind of muddle our way through it, but in particular, we are very fortunate to have smart guests kind of come in and offer their perspective. Is like, at the time, how we felt about it versus how you kind of feel about it in retrospect. And then you also wonder, because I firmly believe that like Mark Hoppus is a progressively minded, nice dad now. And so And so what do you think the perspective is, you know, on his end of kind of looking back and just saying like, I don't even know that he knew what he was trying to say and how you kind of feel about it now as an adult who maybe hopefully has developed a more, I don't know, inclusive perspective on sort of like women and sexuality and
yeah. It's so interesting because their immaturity was commodified, right? Like that was the product they were selling. And they were selling it in that same context of a time, which was very much like the American Pie brand of stuff. It was like, so maybe they just kind of were like, okay, this is what we're selling and this is what's working. You know, I don't know that they would have had a lot of personal conflict at the time because again, think about the context of conversations at the time. We weren't having modern mainstream conversations about feminism and respect for women at all. You know, we had just come out of like 90s Sex in the City, you know, I take what I want kind of feminism, but we still didn't really put the F word on it. It was really just pro-sex, you know, pro-choice, you know, which is good in a way, but like at the same time, it wasn't going really deeply into the systemic issues that we're kind of talking about now with feminism, and like the actual like I don't know, I guess like dissecting these power dynamics between men and women that allows sexual harassment to happen, allows sexual assault to happen. So yeah, like we weren't talking about that stuff at the time. So like, you know, obviously when you mature with age and you see the way that women in your life are treated and you have your eyes open in other ways, like you're probably going to come around to that. Hopefully you do come around to it. Not everyone does. But yeah, like I think it just wasn't happening then. So maybe, you know, it really very much is now. So I would not be surprised to see, you know, Mark Hoppus tweeting in support of something like Me Too or Time's Up or anything like that, or talking about this stuff, or maybe like, I wonder how he feels singing these songs, or if he's selective at all singing songs on tour with Nat Skiba now. I'm not sure. I haven't had the pleasure of seeing them lately. I wonder if he's choosy at all. Do you know? Like, is he being more?
No, I mean, they kind of play the hits. Like, we've joked about this before. Matt Skiba recently put up a photo of himself on Instagram with a back patch that says, "This is what a feminist looks like." And we kind of made the joke of, that feeling when you still sing, "I need a girl that I can train." I think ultimately Blink Live is, even though they do have new songs, kind of a nostalgia act. Like, if we're being honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, they haven't gone full Beastie Boys where they've just renounced portions of their catalog.
Right. Well, Matt Skiba, to his own credit, he didn't write those songs, but at the same time, he could choose to sing them or not sing them. But yeah, I also goes back to the, like, you're selling a product thing, and like you are selling, and a product these days is the concert tickets. That's like how they make their money now, right? It's not from streaming, it's not from album sales.
It's interesting you mentioned the timing having so much to do with it, because wouldn't it be incredible if we went back and, for the first time in 10, 15 years, looked at the lyrics to the Party song and we were like, this is truly intersectional. Like, they were so ahead of their time. It's remarkable.
Except I have the lyrics up right now and I'm like, I don't think that they were.
They are not terribly intersectional.
I'm like, oh, really? I'm looking at it sideways a bit. Her volume of makeup, her fake tits were tasteless. Yeah, so I said I'd call her, but never would bother until I got turned down by another girl at a party. Cycle continues.
Yeah, there is some other stuff, in this lyrics, and you've kind of touched on it a little bit with sort of, Me Too, and some of your writing as well that I wanted to talk about is there's nothing from a narrator perspective in this song that's, like really troubling from a, consent assault perspective, which is good. It's like that sort of like, hopefully, shitty 90s misogyny that we've moved past. But there is this sort of intimation that there are other men at this party who are getting women drunk in the hopes of being able to take advantage of them sexually. And you had a piece sort of recently in the wake of the Headley allegations that have been circling, kind of, I think, dealing with the complexity and the power dynamics, in particular as it pertains to musicians like those in Headley, and the idea of consent. Is that an idea that sort of prior to the Headley thing you had been sort of working through, or?
Yeah, I think like what's been happening lately with these conversations is greater scrutiny placed on the power dynamics about, and like no woman wants to be like feminists and women get criticized with wearing this victim cloak all the time. Like, oh, I'm a woman and I'm alive. So therefore it's like, I'm going to be a victim everywhere I go. Like, yeah, there's something to that, but not fully. Like women are, multidimensional human beings, just like men, come from different backgrounds, different views of the world. But at the same time, like, I think, oh my God, I lost my train of thought. I have been thinking about this just in terms of the power structures. And so I think when you see something like the Headley case, with some deep hindsight into the Giangameshi stuff that we'd already been through, I've had a lot of deja vu lately.
Yeah, which you covered quite extensively.
Yeah, and for Chatelaine, for sure. We were in the courtroom and everything. We sort of saw how what happened on the stand for these women. But I think like with Headley, and the context of Me Too happening, a lot of apologies happening, which there was one with Giangameshi, kind of forced out of him to avoid a second trial. But with Headley, he said he was sorry, but he said unequivocally, Jacob Hoggart, the lead singer, who was sort of the bulk of the allegations against him, he said he was sorry, but he unequivocally said, I've never had a non-consensual sexual encounter. But I just thought his statement was so interesting because it's kind of like, but then he went on to talk about, like, I misused my power that I have. And so in the context of these conversations that exist, that are fairly new around power structures and sexual harassment, I'm just like, you can't separate those things. And I don't think that we've done a good job yet at really talking about that, or really talking about, like, the really important role that power plays in consent. Like, we're not good at talking about it with children, even, with the abuse of children, which is an awful thing to talk about, which is why we never do. But we're ready to sort of say that that's a problem to many degrees. An adult and a child is clearly very wrong. But if you have such power over a person, influence over a person, and I think the fan scenario is important here, right? Like, if you're a fan of someone, yes, it is your choice to be a fan, but at the same time, like, you were kind of in the throes of something that is like beyond you as well. You know, you're emotionally heightened. You are really feeling like someone is you're not worthy of being in their presence. And so what are you going to do? You're going to give them everything that you think that they want. And you do get something back from that, but there's like really something off there. Because this person has so much power and they can really call the shots in a way that is not the case in a healthy consensual interaction. So actually the law talks about a power imbalance and consent. You know, like you can't consent if there's like a way off power imbalance. And I think that they had that language in there for the adults and children things specifically, but it is broader than that. And it is the issue is that it's been up to judges to kind of interpret that. And of course they do all the important work that they do to like really measure this. But I think it's like a pretty new conversation that we're seeing only post Weinstein about that power imbalance because it was so clear, right? And we didn't really have the language or tools, I think, when the Giangameshi stuff happened to really think about it in those ways, except I think we did to a certain degree. But like with Weinstein, it was like, he's so much power. But like, if you're the lead singer of like a major band in Canada and, you know, you have so much influence, and we're talking about this stuff in new ways now that I think they're inextricably linked, you know, and I think it's a problem to say, everything's been totally consensual and acknowledge that you've misused your power and not actually connect those two things.
Well, it's interesting watching that power dynamic play out as well in the public space, as like in particular, the Headley allegations have been discussed. And I wonder, from your perspective, having written this piece and sort of put this, I think, really valuable perspective out in the world, what has the response been just to you personally online? Because that to me also, I'm guessing it has been weird and negative, or well, not from everyone, but I guess because a lot of these personalities weld such outsized influence, right? Like the way like these sort of like swarms of supporters can kind of come and attack people with dissenting opinions, I guess, is an interesting social manifestation of that power. But maybe that hasn't been your experience. I don't know.
No. Like I was thinking, like, do they call them Headley heads? I don't know. Like, like is it like a dead head, like a Headley head? Yeah, I don't know. But no, but I have had people be like more so when we did the second post, which was about, so my post was really just focused on the apology itself, and then dissecting it a little bit. And then the second post that we did was about the show that they had, because he said he was going to continue, the band was going to continue to the end of their tour, and then he's going to take this like soul searchy hiatus. And so between the end of the tour and the soul searchy hiatus, he apparently said a lot of sexist stuff at the show, you know, that was veiled references to this, you know, the allegations against him that was clearly feeding off, like, I have the support of all of you in the room because you are my, you know, my tribe or whatever, you know, like I have this power over you in a way. Right. And I know a lot of Headley fans would disagree, right? No one wants to hear that they have, you know, that anyone has power over them. Right. But I did hear from some people in response to that post that was like, were you there? Like, I'm sure it was being taken in this, you know, really sensationalistic way by this journalist. And so I was like, oh, hey, like, if you were there, like, send me some video, man. Like, tell me what you heard. Like, if she wasn't there, and then she was like, anybody else was there? And like, nobody chimed in. So I don't know. That was like the worst of it, which was nothing. But yeah, like I think, but that post has been very popular on our site. I think there's been a lot of discussion about this because it's painful, right? Like if somebody that you have enjoyed their music and really listened to their perspectives and value them in your life is accused of something, it's obviously really kind of shattering, and in a way that like you may feel that they are being unfairly targeted, right? Like I think I did a piece like when I was at the National Post a while ago about Chris Brown fans. Like remember when there's a whole thing about him and Rihanna? So it was like, I was kind of like, who the hell still likes Chris Brown? Like, how could you? And so it was actually like a really interesting foray into like fan psychology and sort of how invested people are in others when they're deeply, you know, they have this relationship through music and through what they mean to them as an idol and sort of a person in their world that seems outsized. So I think like all of that is kind of wrapped up when you talk about celebrities and consent and abuse of that power, for sure.
And, and I certainly don't want to make a suggestion here that like the party song is somehow responsible for like any sort of measure of sexual assault or misconduct. But, one of the things that, I wonder about and that Josiah and I kind of talk about on this podcast is how do songs like this ultimately inform the emerging psyches of quite often kind of young male listeners? And how do we sort of, process that now as adults sort of trying to be decent and considerate human beings?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I think it's just part of a broader culture. And like, again, I go back to like it being of a time, and like really they're just kind of painting a scene in some ways, right? Like they're describing an experience and like they're describing that like American Pie, whatever old school like party,
it's very teen movie,
frat
yeah,
party,
totally.
right? Like Can't Hardly Wait, whatever it was, like all those sort of scenes. But yeah, like that, I think like people brush off pop culture and all those messages and say, oh, it's just entertainment. But like we absorb that into our cells, like into our body, and in our mind and our psyche and our ideas of what's okay in the world. And so I think like it's not just, young men trying to explore their sexuality, absorbing this. It's young women too. We're absorbing these messages that like, who's kind of got the power, who's put out by someone else expressing their, wants and needs in a certain way. It's like a really interesting, if you step back and look at this, it's kind of like a really interesting anthropological, sociological.
Totally. Yeah. It's a
book,
document.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it all informs us. And so looking back on it, I think like I look back on it and I'm like, wow, I really absorbed so many of these messages. And I think like I absorbed some of the really positive messages that Blink-182 put out there too, which was pretty irreverent, like have a sense of humor about life, like, but at the same time, like I obviously did absorb a lot of sexism from them too, like I love them and I'm a fan, but that was big in the culture. These guys were absorbing it from everyone else that they love in their, that they're fans of, that they've watched on TV and in movies and, in rock and roll culture as well as pop punk, and punk itself. Like, so I think it's like really interesting to look back on it, not that we're all that much better now, but we were trying, maybe like we're trying to be aware and kind of move through life being a little bit more mindful of other people's experiences beyond ours. I think that's really how you define this moment. It's just trying to be a little bit more compassionate, and try not to feel so like, oh my gosh, if we're talking about this, it means that I'm going to lose ground and I'm going to lose power or lose something. Like, again, I'm going way deep in the deep end of this pool that you wanted me to see in the shallow end of the party song.
No. This is good.
Sorry.
I mean, if you're talking about 155 Blink songs, you have to get into the deep end. Like the shallow
I feel like I'm
end.
talking about 155 things in this one conversation.
That's perfect. Sarah, I really appreciate your 155 thoughts on the party song.
Thank you. I hope they were helpful.